I think England should learn from the Germans. They absolutely love motorhoming. And this area that we're in is the second of 3 car parks. I don't know if you can see them over there. You'd think that we were on a campsite. Actually, we're just on a car park, and it's free on a Sunday. Look at the size of some of these. And so that encourages people to actually park up, and every one of these people will be going round into the town and spending cash. So to actually have you know, this is one thing that they could do, couldn't they, if you think about it. I'm just going to go down here because this goes onto the river, and it's all looking rather interesting. So got a touch of Amsterdam about it, hasn't it, really? Yeah. So all this encouragement, people just leisurely enjoying their Sunday afternoon. I'll put the name of the place up here.
It's Sunday afternoon. I'm sat right in the centre of the city of Lübeck, and in the centre of this city is a communal allotment, and people are here picking. There's a lady over there just picked a squash. I've seen rhubarb behind me, but most people are picking herbs for the Sunday dinners, or flowers. There's some rhubarb, and you're just allowed to wander around and just take whatever you need. And although there's plenty of people taking things, these are all tomatoes that are finished, there's still loads and loads of stuff. All the boxes are completely full. There's areas to sit. What an absolutely beautiful idea of just sharing. Beans over there. It smells lovely as well of herbs. Hi, we're Caroline and Ian, a British couple who gave up work, sold our house, gave away our possessions, and are now looking to spend our 5th winter doing van life.
So come and join us and see how Christian faith and van life work together.
On a wing and a prayer. So right beside this area where it's got all the sharing of the allotment space, right back to medieval times, in this area, in this building, was a hospital, and it's called the Hospital of the Holy Spirit, and rich merchants that came to the area would help to pay to fund it, and it was free to go in, and the sick and the elderly went in there. At the time they didn't have sort of wards and dormitories. They only had little cubby holes that the people stayed in. So it is open, but I'm not sure whether I'll be allowed in with the dog. So if I am, I'll take you for a view. It is shut tomorrow though, so if I don't get in today, I don't think I'll see it. But what a fantastic community area this is. I've managed to tie the dog up outside because I'm in the city on my own today. So I'm just going to do a quick walk round. So this is the Hospital of the Holy Spirit. This was the church area, and it's considerably warm inside. I don't know what's making it so warm. There's no fires. How beautiful to be in here. It would certainly lift your spirits if you were sick. This is a box that they'd use for collections, so the rich merchants would put money in here. Oh, this is so exciting for me, having worked in the healthcare service for 38 years. This was one of the first ever free medical care for people, and it's done beautifully. Each sick person had their own little room. Here's the number, 68. And right the way down the corridor, you've got these little cubicles, which would have been great for containing infectious diseases. Here's two of the wardens and a sick elderly chap. So it wasn't just the sick, it was the elderly and infirm as well. And this is how they looked inside. So you'd have a little bed, a table, and a closet for putting your stuff in. And people would actually live in these, the elderly. But what a sense of community. They'd be able to speak to each other, go around the city, and then come back knowing that they were completely safe and warm in these little cubicles. This is probably where they had the board meetings. There's a little fire in there as well. Far back as the 14th century, this was turned into an infirmary, and the third floor at the top was where it was classed as the hospice. So very, very forward thinking. Well, apart from the fact of trying to get the bodies down the steps, I think I had to put it on a lower floor. But anyway, old people from the town could also rent a room and stay in it for the rest of their lives. So, yeah, Lubeck, you are fascinating. This is the harbour where all the rich merchant ships would have come. And this is actually a lift bridge. So when the big ship liners came along here, this bridge would have lifted up to allow them into the dock. And the first thing that you met with when you come to Lubeck, if you were getting off the ship as a rich merchant, are the impressive city walls. And the first entrance to the city walls is the prisons and the courtrooms. You can walk round the walls as well, or go through the arch and into the medieval city. This strange artwork depicts Mary Magdalene, and here she is gazing up proudly, it says, and her chains have been broken. What else would you do in a medieval village in Germany on a Sunday afternoon? Well, I'll tell you what you'll do. You'll have an Indian. This is the first Indian we have eaten in about 18 months. So really, really looking forward to it.
Slashing my way through these pickles now. Just by being on this side of the water, where the car park place is, you can see it says that you've got 7 towers, and I can see 2, 3, 4, 5. Not that, and the other 2 are over there. So you can see 5 of the 7 towers, and you don't even have to get off the boat. Got a feel of Amsterdam about it, even though I've not been to Amsterdam. I can just imagine James Bond going underneath that bridge over there, rattling up this water in some super speedboat, chases some villains or something, or being chased by villains. Yeah, it's got a I reckon when we get to Amsterdam, Caroline wants to go and see Amsterdam. I reckon it's going to be a lot like this. And Chris, there's the old Radisson. Radisson hotels are still over here. So this is Lübeck. Yeah, Mike, you should have had one of these when you were in our back garden. It's a sucker. Well, I don't say you were the sucker. Don't say. Look at that. It picks up the tiles. Really big, heavy tiles. I can't believe in our garden, or in our back garden, that you were going round doing all that. Oh, this is what you need. It's a great big JCB. I don't think you'd have got that into the back of the garden, but hey ho. What a cracking little piece of kit. Yeah, it's going to get it. Here we go. What? Down on there. Toss it up. And away you go. Fancy relaying them? No problem at all. No lefty work needed. Oh, I like that. That is ace. What a cracking idea. Germans should do it again.
This is the evening in the town. Everybody gathering around the water's edge to watch the sunset. And all the old ships. These are the old merchants' houses. But then behind us there is a storm brewing. Not to worry. So all we have to do is go over this bridge. And then we're in a park. Oh, what? Couple of the motorhomes. And this is the crossing to Denmark. Simple as that. No stopping, no messing about. Apparently you can flick back in two, even cycling along the river between Denmark and Germany. So hello Denmark, this is our first visit to you. And I hope it's a pleasant one. Despite the weather. What are you thinking about Denmark, Mr. A? Are you looking forward to it?
Well, where we are now is, if you went right that way over there, you come to Warrington. We are level with Warrington.
Oh, there you go then.
Flensburg.
It's 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and I suppose some adventurous, sporty people in England will be doing the park run, as would I have done when I was there. Not in Denmark. The wind is whipping like crazy. It is cold out. People have got hats and scarves on. And what do we have? People going for a swim. And this is happening quite often where we are on this harbour. There's all these jetties to go out swimming and people just strip off and bump they're in. Well done, ladies. Well done.
I'm not sure. Not gone in, have they?
Well, they've not gone in yet, but at least they're bracing themselves ready to go in. I think they will. They look like professionals at cold water dipping. I mean, the waves are pretty bad, actually. Sometimes the travelling can get really, really tiring. Today, it's Saturday morning. I've still got my pyjamas on, and it is 11:30, and I've still got
Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday. I've said twice it's Saturday. It's only Tuesday. I don't know where my head's at. This is what happens when you travel through 7 countries in a matter of weeks. So yeah, it's Tuesday. It's 11:30. I've still got my pyjamas on because we're on a site. Now, the problem is with living in a van, when you're on car parks and lay-bys, you're pretty much up very early and at it and moving. So when you're on a site, you can just chill out and just relax. So this morning it is chucking it down, this Tuesday morning, chucking it down here in Denmark, and so we've hunkered down for the day and we're getting some jobs done. Ian's editing the vlog with great concentration. It is miserably chucking it down outside, and I am finishing off a teddy bear for our grandson. He's quite harmless at the minute. Good morning. Well, this would stop children littering. It's a school party and they're all along the beaches and they are collecting litter. I think if they had to spend all this time in the morning picking litter up, it would definitely reduce the amount of people dropping litter. A cracking idea. Well done, Denmark.
Well, the campsite this morning on the park up, it's a little bit damp. It's just stopped raining and then it's early afternoon. So one of the things that they decided to do is to move all the boats. Putting all the boats onto these new frames that they've put down. And I think it's going to be a full-time job. Working really well. Hope it fits. And so this is the scene that we've got this morning, or this afternoon I should say, and that is over there, part of the Baltic Sea, and it's a massive expanse of water. I'll put a thing up on the maps thing to show you how big it is. Surprisingly large.
It's another great day here in Denmark, but we're quite excited. We're going out for the day. We're going to Oslo, which is the home of Hans Christian Andersen, and we're going to go to his museum and have a look at his town. He was famous for writing children's fairy stories. Now, Denmark is actually made up of 3 large islands, and to get to the islands you obviously have to go on bridges. This one is free and it's quite spectacular, and we are going over the Baltic Sea. There is another one that you can go over that goes over to the main island that everybody knows with Copenhagen on, but we are going to swerve that because it's €80 one way, and on this trip we don't have time to stay on that other side of the island to make the most out of money. What's your thoughts on Denmark, Mr. A?
I've enjoyed Denmark actually. It's quite interesting really, to say the least. Yeah, but yeah, I like it. It's alright.
He likes anything that's flat and has good roads.
Well, we're pretty convinced now that the Denmark are not very good at signposting anything. So we're looking for Hans Christian Andersen's birthhouse. We found the museum, we bought the tickets, they've given us a map, and we can't make head nor tail of it. So this is a nice square. But trying to find anywhere. Oh, she's asking. So getting a little bit of help.
Well, the childhood home of Hans Christian Andersen is only small, but it's absolutely packed with information. No wonder he ended up writing such strange fairy tales. He had a really awful life. So his father was a soldier, and he remembers having measles and hearing the drums and his father going away to war. And shortly after that, when his father returned, his father had delirium and ended up dying in the bed next to them. So all the mother and the son did was get out of bed and lie on the floor. And he remembers as a child hearing a grasshopper cricket going, whatever it does. And his mum saying, it's okay, we already know he's dead. He then lived in one room in this house with his grandfather and his grandmother. His grandfather only ever spoke one word to him, and that was to call him sir. His grandfather seems to be of not of sound mind, but used to carve out little figurines from wood. He'd then go to the countryside and give these figurines to different people in exchange for grain and different things like that, and he would then bring those back. His grandmother actually worked in the gardens of the mental asylum, and he remembers very clearly in the mental asylum the patients singing and shouting and telling stories, and he said this is where the story of the Arabian Nights came from. Now, one of his fearful memories was he went off wandering down the corridors, and while he was down the corridors, he could hear a most beautiful woman singing, and he lay on the floor and peeked under the crack in the floor, and she was naked apart from her hair covering her, and suddenly she must have heard that there was somebody outside the door, and she flew at the door so badly, banging it, that the hatch that came to feed her food opened up, and she started grabbing at Hans Christian Andersen, and he said that was one of his most fearful memories. So this poor young child had been through so much. He then he was noted to be quite clever, and he met somebody of fortune, and his mother said, when he asks you what you want to do, tell him that you want to go to grammar school. So he plucked up the courage, and the man actually said, and what do you want to do? He said, I want to go to grammar school. The rich guy said, oh, that will take a lot of work and a lot of hard work and a lot of money, but if you want to go for a trade, I'll help to apprentice you. Now, Hans Christian Andersen did do different jobs and saved until he'd got 13 coins. And then he said to his mum, I don't want to be an apprentice. I'm going to go to Copenhagen and I'm going to make a fortune. I'm going to be famous. And his mother, you can imagine, it's all the only person she had, really. The father had gone. She only had the one child. And anyway, they went to a fortune teller, and this fortune teller said to them that your son will be so famous that the whole of Odense will be illuminated by his name. And then, of course, his mother began to cry and said, okay, you can go. And off he went to Copenhagen. And that's why we're going to the museum now, to find out what happened after that and how he became famous.
And here we have his house. Don't know whether Caroline's done it from outside, but I don't know whether this one next door is also part of the house. If it wasn't, they had 3 families living in this one bit here, which would be mental. He said he spent a lot of his time actually just sitting around in the courtyard at the back. He never really played with the other kids. Now, whether this is a house or whether this is the coal shed or whatever, it doesn't really say. But this is the courtyard that he spent most of his time just sitting underneath this gooseberry tree, he said. So, it's a loner.
This tiny house is where Hans Christian Andersen was born. He moved to the other house when he was 2. He lived here because his aunt had a room here, and up to 20 people lived in this house. So whole families would be squashed in together. You think how his life ended with him having so much money. There's 6 rooms to the house and 6 families crammed together in here. There was an earth floor. There's wood here now.
So, in this room starts the story of Hans Christian Andersen, 2nd of April 1805. The wooden floor, stone floors, small minute room. One family tree.
Sat in a Danish McDonald's, and you get real cups for your coffee and for your milkshakes as well if you're sitting in. Mr. A's indulging in.
Oh, it's supposed to be Kit Kat McFlurry. It's the weirdest Kit Kat McFlurry I've ever had.
Is it not nice?
Not quite what was expected.
Shame.
What about it?